Hello, everyone. I'm Dominique, and today we're going to be talking about, the week 11, I believe, discussion about the media's role when it comes down to wartime coverage. So, the first question I asked myself while reading the chapters was, what is the media's role during wartime? And for me, I believe that the media's role is to rally up the people who want to fight in the war. But I also feel like the media should also be very accurate in providing information about who's fighting in the war, how many people are being affected by this war, when it started, how it started, and all that other information. And I took some notes and I'm going to read some of them for you just so I can have some kind of like structure. So, during wartime coverage, as with during any war, the media's role is to inform the public of what is happening on the battlefield. This includes fighting and how everything is moving forward. I believe that the reporters during the war should provide accurate information, such as I said in the previous couple statements, of who's fighting, what's going on, how it happened, who started it, what are we going to do. And despite the fact that during a lot of times the media isn't completely accurate when portraying this information, because as we all know, the media sometimes wants to put out the story first, ask questions later, and gather on from there. We've seen that when we're in peaceful times with celebrity deaths or information about upcoming events, you know, the works. So, according to the book, of course, while reading the book, you can see that in all the chapters talking about war, such as the Civil War, the World War One, World War Two, that information was meant to be out quickly, and then the other information would just come slowly afterward. And with the introduction of radio, this became even more hectic for reporters because now they have to not only provide the information through radio, but also through the newspapers. Now, when considering what the public should know and government secrets, I stand on the fact that I feel like the public should have the right to know what is going on during the war to a certain extent. I don't believe that the public should know everything about the war, such as the strategies that the government is using, what the military is doing, but I do not believe that we should keep viable information away from the public, such as the death toll and the wounded. Because how are we going to, as a nation, keep people wanting to continue to support the war if they don't know what's going on? So we can't always depend on it being happy go lucky, or oh, America's winning or Russia's winning or this, that, and the third on whatever side you're on. I believe that we should just be honest and open with the public. However, there are some exceptions to that, such as with the Vietnam War, for an example, where the public got very hands on sights and pictures of the gruesome murders and seeing these soldiers having their legs blown off. I don't believe the media should have done that, of putting people in, that space, because as a result of the media portraying these pictures and these videos, unlike how World War One and World War Two went, this did turn people away from the war. So if media is going to report on certain topics or wars, I feel like there should be a certain limit. Like, don't show gruesome images of these soldiers, but don't lie to them and say, oh, well, only 10,000 soldiers had lost their lives when it was really 20,000. So that's where I feel like that line should be drawn. But also, while looking online trying to find other examples of when privacy of the government and the public's right to know debate goes on, I did find one article from PBS with an individual who does the editing during war times on the newspapers and in video and in radio. And he put out the comment of when it comes down to government secrecy and the public's right to know, they decide, and by they, the editor, excuse me, the chief editor decides what is shown and what isn't, and he bases it off of if the government and other government officials can prove, not just deem it of like, oh well, this is a concern, we shouldn't let people know. Like, no, they have to extensively approve that this is a danger to not only the public but to the American safety. And I feel like that's where that real line is drawn. Like, for example, when we look into the book in chapter 17, when it talked about World War I and World War II, a lot of government officials and military officials feared that if the media found out about the war strategies and um, display it or put it into the public's eye, the enemy will find it. And I can't think of what page from the top of my mind, but the main example I can think of that fear happening was when they were talking about how the Americans um, military had found a way to decode the Japanese code when it was time for bombings, and the the American press, the AP, there we go. The AP had seen it as one way while the government was like, no, we should have just like kept it to ourselves. Even if the Japanese didn't know we broke the code, we should not have had that come out. And of course, the writer that did write that article did have to get terminated from his employment. So that's where I feel like the government shouldn't have extensive hold over what the media can and can't say, but I also don't believe that the media should just say everything that's going on or show everything that's going on. It should be a good mix of being tasteful but not completely censored. So there goes my ideas of what's going on, my opinions. Thank you guys for listening, and you guys have a wonderful day.